Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of House of Ways and Means. Hide your kids, hide your wife. This one is getting real inappropriate. You know, sometimes you just like so in love and you just like are like completely mesmerized by the smell of her hair and you just want to be like up under her.
Baby, you're so loud right in my ear.
Okay, sorry. Alright, so we're back with another video about mental health diagnoses. So this one, for a change, is one that I've actually heard of. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Good.
I have PTSD. Marriage will give you PTSD, let's just be honest.
That's not how it goes.
But I'm in a good mood today, so I'm going to turn it over to Waze.
So PTSD is not caused by marriage. He is so extra. He's so close. You're kind of warm. I like that you're keeping me really warm, which is good.
The people with PTSD are getting triggered by this waste of time.
Post-traumatic stress disorder are for people who experienced a traumatic event. Now, what would you say is a traumatic event? Not marriage. What would you say is a traumatic event?
Losing a limb.
Yes.
I'd be traumatized.
Right.
Or seeing somebody you know get shot. If you live in the hood, something like that.
Yes, look at you. Okay, Dr. Willis. Okay, so
I told you. Open with my practice next week.
Oh. Anyways, so yes, trauma is threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violence in one or more of the following ways, whether you directly experience it yourself, or like you say, a loved one or a close friend has experienced it, or who else you think would fit. We're not just talking about the sexual violence, we're talking about who would fit it. So someone who experiences it themselves,
okay,
someone who knows a friend or a close family member that experienced it,
and someone who commits the act.
No. So
a murderer wouldn't get post-traumatic stress disorder? What if he killed somebody and he was in self-defense? Or he thought it was in self-defense?
Okay, yes. Pew, pew. Everybody going down. But that wasn't what I was referring to. I was referring to first responders. Think about it, right? So people who are repeatedly exposed to, serious injury.
I don't understand how people can even do that.
It takes
like I can do it. I can get how you might want to help somebody in a bad spot, but just to voluntarily do that every day, doctors.
Well, you're not. It's not voluntary. You're getting paid.
Okay, yeah, it's not voluntary, but nobody put a gun to your head. You're purposely pursuing.
You did make that choice. Yes.
Profession.
Yes.
And at least doctors are getting paid enough to, lessen some of that misery.
All right. So now you have an idea of the exposure. That's the exposure piece, right? So I would say part B to PTSD is someone they experience intrusive symptoms. So now, yes, so they have recurrent intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are things that you can't control, or things that you have difficulty controlling. Not that you can't control it, but things that you have difficulty in controlling. Let's say you're sodomized, or your friend.
That's a terrible example. Okay, here's a better example. One that's less frightening, perhaps, for children. So I often would hear, because I was really into like doing fireworks. I mean, who wasn't into doing fireworks on 4th of July growing up? But then, as I got older, I became acquainted with hearing about people who were perhaps who had been in war, who had spent time in war in the military, and perhaps they live in certain neighborhoods, and it's kind of like a request goes out to please be mindful of them when you're putting on your fireworks, because I guess for them the sounds, the loud popping and the lights flashing can be reminiscent of perhaps their wartime experience,
Yes.
which is traumatic for them, and to have to
Yes.
revisit and relive that.
Because it can bring back on flashbacks, which is all a part of the intrusive symptoms. So another criteria is in regards to the person directly trying to avoid the stimuli. So with the example that you just gave, say a vet would not be interested in going into a store that sells fireworks because it somehow closely resemble, you know, even if you see like the fake grenades in a fireworks store and things like that, it would trigger them. So they just avoid stimuli or anything that could trigger those flashbacks or anything reminiscent of the trauma that they experienced before. So that's, I like your example.
Me too. I might cut the other one out. I'll leave it in. It might help somebody.
And then so there's also like a dissociation that could be caused as a result of the trauma that you experienced. Dissociation is where you almost pull away from yourself because that's the only way that you can cope or manage going about your day-to-day life, is just pulling yourself away from what it is that you experienced. A lot of people who experience something really traumatic like a rape or something like that, if they want to have like a sexual relationship with a partner, they may dissociate themselves from the situation and the scenario so that they're able to have that sexual interaction with that loved one. Just from how I've heard people describe their dissociation, it's like they take on a different personality or they just become a different person just so that they can manage what it is that they're going to experience, because they don't want to experience it as their regular true self. When people have additional personalities, that's a form of dissociation. You're taking on a different form of yourself. And then there are also negative alterations in your cognitions and in your moods. So you would experience a variety of moods, and a lot of people would liken it to or think that it might be bipolar, where you are having a manic episode because your moods are kind of, you know, fluctuating and things like that. But it's really, it could really truly be a response to a trauma that you've experienced.
How long between the time of the event and the onset of the symptoms, how long do you have an idea of how long that time period is?
So in a lot of cases, it would be about a month. You mentioned something that I didn't specify, but one of the other specifiers of PTSD is your arousal, right? Sometimes people could become hypervigilant in response to the trauma that they've experienced. So let's say with the example of the veteran, in addition to them possibly even avoiding a firework or something like that, if they hear a dog bark, they might kind of like turn because it triggered them. If they're hypersensitive and they have like a heightened arousal to like loud sounds, maybe if a tire pops, you know, in an accident, a car accident or something like that, they would have an arousal response to that.
So what happens if, say, you are around civilians, for the example of a soldier, around civilians and you hear the dog bark or the balloon pop or whatever, is it a possibility that you can go full on into wartime mode and you're like,
you can,
you know, pulling out knives and guns and choking people out? I mean, is that part of PTSD or is that another condition altogether that kind of places you back?
That's a part of PTSD. So you would see people, depending on how badly they were affected by the trauma, right? They could hear a balloon pop. They could be at a fair or something, hear a balloon pop. But next thing you know, they're like, go, 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 go. Everybody move left. Da, 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 da. And they're like trying to get people out of the way. And then people are like,
what is this dude talking about?
What is going on? You know what I mean? And they might actually respond to the person because, I mean...
Oh, they will now.
If I see somebody saying, go, 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 I'm going. I am going. Listen, I don't need to know what is going on, but I'm going to go. And then after I realize it, I might be like, oh, this person is probably
and then the fair
being triggered.
All the money, everybody loses their jobs. And they're like, oh, this dude's he gets a lifetime ban.
But anyway, so the thing is that they could respond as though, because hearing that pop could literally trigger them back into a flashback, and they could be full on experiencing a flashback, right? And for them, their surrounding is no longer the fear. Their surrounding is, you know, is a war zone.
So they're, instead of civilians, they're seeing.
So they're seeing
the enemy.
Or they're seeing people on their team, military personnel, or I mean, you know, depending on some war zones, there are people. Like if you're in a village or whatever, they're going to be civilians there as well. People who are not a part of the actual war.
Mercenaries, guerrillas.
So all of this stuff, they're going to get thrown right into it. It's almost like they're right back to that situation. Now, people don't respond like this all the time. Not everyone is going to experience a flashback, especially to that degree. But it does happen. And if it does happen, it still falls under post-traumatic stress disorder. It wouldn't fall under something else. Oh, I did have one other thing I wanted to add. In relation to like the R. Kelly stuff, while I have
a separate video. Oh my god.
No, wait, because one of the things that I've always specified about like the R. Kelly, the documentary and all the docuseries and everything that came out, people asked me why I didn't watch it, and I said I didn't want to watch it because I didn't feel like I was in a position yet to be exposed to that. Now, while PTSD cannot be caused by you watching trauma through media or whatever, it can be very triggering. And because of my profession and dealing with a lot of people who have experienced severe trauma and things like that, and I'm actually a trained trauma therapist, I try to, you know, manage the amount of trauma that I'm exposed to at a time. And so if I have clients that are experiencing trauma, I am not interested in being exposed to additional trauma because it's just I could pass it.
So you're not gonna watch the Michael Jackson one either?
I'm gonna watch. I feel like I've already watched that, but
no, just came out.
Okay, well I haven't watched it, but
Bill Cosby documentary coming 2020.
Anyways, the point is that I will eventually watch these things because I think it's important, you know, for me to know as a clinician, especially being a trauma therapist. But I do like to be very mindful about the amount of trauma that I expose myself to, even if it's just through media.
Okay. Well, it's a lot of good information, a lot to digest. So it sounds like PTSD has wide-ranging ramifications. It's more than just, you know, the way people colloquially use the term over something minorly stressful. Anyway, thanks for joining us again for another episode. Any conditions you want to learn about, just hit us up in the comments, subscribe, like. If you're viewing us on Facebook, consider coming over to the YouTube channel and checking us out there. And we will see you guys later.